Let's talk about the co-main event. UFC 282's Paddy Pimblett defeating via unanimous decision Jared Gordon. So, BC, I have a lot of thoughts on this I actually have not shared yet, even though I reacted in real time. But we have not had a chance to get even your basic first reactions. So let's start with you. And I'm going to go in reverse order. In this case, what do you make of the judging? And then what did you make of the fight?
Fight kind of sucked. I mean, it was competed on even terms, and I think Rogan was right to call it during the broadcast that, especially in round 3, which really didn't finish much striking, but it's just constant standing grappling. They used a lot of effort there, but the fight stunk. The scores were off. Look, I had it 2-1 for Jared Gordon. I felt a lot of people did, but I think the bigger story, Luke, is this is a major regressive step for Paddy Pimblett. I was the guy like you who, upon arrival, was like, man, I like the circus he brings, but does he have the head movement, the defense, all this to do things? Look, he's won me over largely step by step with his ability to rise to the occasion, to show us the ground skills that he does have. But this week in particular, Luke, was a massive fail for Paddy. And I thought you really nailed that. I don't know if that was on your live chat or whatever. I've been gone for a few days. But your takedown on Paddy and the industry as a whole for sort of, coming at Ariel at his own game and the L they took is, no different from Dana trying to clap back and forth with a professional troller and Jake Paul who can spit out those on-point 2-minute videos, left and right to show you that you're not on this level. I think Paddy getting embroiled in all of that like he did really put the target on him, and he was just unable to rise to the occasion. Do we credit Gordon's toughness? Yes. But the prediction I had coming in about what this fight might look like, I think was still in play as the fight was playing out, meaning eventually Pimblett's going to get served. There are holes in that game. He's been able to overcome some of those holes with some of those hard to identify intangibles that he does possess. But all of that seemed to be dulled this weekend, meaning this was an opponent who's tough as nails in Gordon who came after him, but one Paddy, in my opinion, should have handled. Only Luke, he didn't. And the fact that he was so nonchalant and overconfident within the fight, after the fight, that bomb of a joke he attempted to Joe about paying for the interview that Rogan didn't even understand and just sort of was like, okay. Dude, this was just a bad look from start to finish. Now, you saw him physically. He looked in great shape. It's not like he came in fat or whatever. But, Luke, I have to be fair here. The focus and that spark, that I'm here to prove everybody wrong thing, that was in the wrong direction for Paddy this week, meaning it wasn't like he was motivated to come out here and show everybody that he's not a hype job and a bust. It was as if mentally he already fully escalated himself into the role of superstar. He'd been talking about fighting Conor on pay-per-view for weeks coming in. He has the boss on his podcast and gives an absolutely tone-deaf interview about Ariel. That plays into people kind of mixing in boos and cheers. And then on top of that, you're in there against a guy that you should beat ability-wise. Just in my opinion, that he should beat. And he's getting beat to the punch in the first round. And, judging-wise, how the hell do you give Paddy Pimblett that first round? I just didn't see it. Closest fight overall. But he took a step back in terms of his growth as a fighter, no question. He deserved to probably have lost this and had to force himself to rebound. But instead, he sort of survived in advance with a double middle finger. And, between this and the post-fight press conference and, what do you want to do next? I don't care. Whoever they put in front of him. I mean, it's just like, He made a wrong turn, Luke. Is he buying into the Paddy headlines a little bit too much? Is all this barstool bullshit with everybody in the crowd in wigs? I love hype. I love circus stuff. I love trash talk. But what made Conor McGregor so successful in doing that better than anyone ever did in his rise? Winning the fights and pretty much winning them spectacularly. During that insane run Conor had, it's not like he was having these close decisions where we argue after the fact that he actually lost. Dude, he went in there and took care of things. Paddy's already stepping into the character a little bit too aggressively without making sure, in my opinion, that the fine details are all handled in the right way. Luke, this was a straight up regression. And I think with a sort of a bad PR week mixed in, he's going to have to go back to the drawing board and he's going to have to win us over, because if this is the fighter he actually is, then stepping up in competition is only going to get him closer to that first L. And it's not like the career is make or break. This isn't, what we sometimes wrongfully look at boxing where one loss shows you exactly who somebody is. No one's trying to say that. But, dude, he talked a big game this week. Talked a big game during the fight. He talked a big game after it. But he did not have a performance that backed it up. And if anything, he was lucky to survive in what I thought was really just some shitty judging across the board. It's 2-1 for Gordon. Could have been a split decision win or a split decision loss either way? Yeah. But to see Paddy, the favored son, come out, it only fuels people to go, oh, Dana and company paid off the judge. No, I don't believe they paid off the judges. I think it's just a shitty performance from the judges who had a better view than I did. But this definitely was a slow your roll movement to what is the true, wait for it, UBL. Get that tattoo right across the navel. Upper bound limits, Luke. This was a detour, a stop. Seats taken.
It's not even a detour. Like, we need to stop. We need to stop with the fantasy that what we've seen gives us any confidence that a title is in his future. Like, okay, so for example, this was his 4th fight in the UFC, right? Pop quiz, BC. What was Conor McGregor's 4th fight in the UFC?
Dustin Poirier?
Correct. And what happened in that fight?
He knocked him the fuck out, to be fair.
In a round. He finished him off in a round. Do you know where Poirier was ranked by most places at that time, in that moment, September of 2014?
I'm going to guess no worse than 6th.
How about number 5?
Okay.
So let's compare the two for all the people being like, oh, he's the next guy. Dude, no the fuck he's not. Not right now. That Conor McGregor in his 4th UFC fight fought Dustin Poirier, knocked him out inside a round, and he was ranked 5th. Jared Gordon is a very talented fighter, but as it stands today is unranked in the division. Like, we're not even talking about people remotely on the same level. The biggest winner at UFC 282 was Ilia Topuria, who we'll talk about later, matter-of-factly. Like, that is someone who's got real potential. That is someone who clearly either will fight for a title, maybe even win one, maybe even hold it for some time. That guy is on the level. Paddy is certainly a very talented dude, and I will be cleared again. His back attacks and his fence wrestling are elite. Those are elite. But the rest of the game, which is huge portions of it, are not. It's not. And it's not even me. It sounds like we're being insulting by not like exalting every portion of his game, which is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make accurate assessments. We can say based on evidence. And by the way, we're talking about a guy who's got 23 plus fights, something like that to this point, who's been fighting for over a decade in Paddy Pimblett, or roughly a decade anyway. I think he made his pro debut in 2012, right? So he's got a 10-year pro career. He's 20 plus fights in. In his 4th UFC fight, he barely eked out a win due to poor judging in my estimation, because I think he lost against an unranked fighter. Guys, not even on the same ballpark, not even the same universe as what Conor McGregor did back when he was fighting everyone in 2014 and 2015 and on. Not even related. Now,
how'd you score it, dude? How did
I score it? I scored it 2-1 for Jared Gordon. I had him winning the first round cleanly. Second round I recognized is a little bit close. Third round I recognize is also a little bit weird because it was control time without a lot behind it, and so it's really hard to know. But if someone gave that one to Paddy, it wouldn't bother me at all. It's fine. I get it. But BC, I think we do need to have a discussion about judging. I think we need to have it on 2 different levels, okay? Here's the first level I want to have it on. Namely, it is true that after every disputed decision, a lot of people are happy, and a lot of people are sad, and the people who are sad get out and cry robbery. That is very true. People cry robbery in inherently close fights all the time, and that doesn't really do anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just sound and fury signifying nothing. On the other hand, BC, this is my problem, and this is why I think people are frustrated. If you look at this fight, only one round was consistently given to one person. Round 2 was given 10-9 to Paddy, which I don't agree with. And in fact, here's my point. The other 2 rounds could have gone either way based on how the judges scored it. Some people gave it to Paddy, some people gave it to Jared. And of course, we've seen 3-round fights before where there was no unanimity with the judges, where each judge, there was no single round where all 3 agreed. In this particular case, it was the second, but it didn't have to be that way. I want to point out something here, and this is my main problem with the scoring criteria. To me, it is not impossible to argue 30-27 Gordon. It's not. To me, a very strong scorecard is 29-28 Gordon. It is to me, less conceivable, but I could understand a 29-28 for Paddy based on the way Judge Chris Lee had it, which was 10-9 for the first one and then the other two for Paddy, right? That I understand. And honestly, while I could not agree with it, you cannot say, based on the way the judges scored it, who they both, two of them gave round one to Paddy, that is it at least conceivable, right, and arguable to your authorities there at the commission, if you scored it this way, is 30-27 Paddy based on the scoring criteria in play. Not that I am asking you to agree with that assessment, but based on the amount of latitude that we grant, where two of the judges gave rounds 1 and 2 to Paddy and another one gave round 3 to him. So all three are in play there. In other words, we have a scoring criteria where 30-27 Gordon and 30-27 Paddy are both in play. Folks, people, listen to me very clearly. This scoring criteria is not good. It gives so much latitude, individual latitude, to interpretation and to the judge's own estimation of things that you do not get any clarity or any difference between a good scorecard and a kind of shitty one that you can fudge and see. This is the reason why everyone is upset, because we have so much room accommodated for dog shit judging that we grant as acceptable under the circumstances by virtue of the latitude granted. Fuck that. Well, this scoring criteria blows. I'm tired of people defending it, and we need a different and better system.
I mean, it was a perfect storm to get this to be one of our lead discussions, meaning Doug Crosby putting in the outlier scorecard in Bellator with Sabatello the night before, flying across the country, and having another shitty scorecard in this fight. Simultaneously, all three judges scored it to the favored son that nobody thought won. Then you add in what happened in the main event, where all this did to me was once again put back in the spotlight that we not only have one problem related to MMA judging and scoring, we have many, Luke, using the boxing 10-9 must system. Nobody knows anymore what a 10-8 round is. At some points, there was overcompensation of anything dominant as a 10-8 round. Now everyone's afraid to do it again. And last but not least, the interpretation of the letter of the law, which, if you're reading it the way I did when a fan sent it to me, it's impact, not damage. And impact could mean so many different things based on that actual letter, like making somebody frustrated because you're implementing your game plan and making them adjust. Yet we had John McCarthy of famous referee of Bellator fame, on our podcast last week, and he's like, no, I'm the one who was in those meetings when that letter of the law was put out. I wanted it to be damage. It should be damage. They wanted to change the word to impact to make it seem less barbaric and violent. Luke, I believe changing that word to impact completely changes how you could interpret it. All that leads to a large shit soup, which is what we're all going to be, swimming in until changes are made. This just happened to be a perfect storm this week of Crosby flying all over the globe and all this sort of like, did the favored son win when he shouldn't have? At the end of the day, was this fight close? Yes. Should it have been 2-1 Gordon? Yeah, both of us and everybody online is telling you that same thing. But, these problems are going to stay these problems, Luke. Whether you want to go to 5 judges instead of 3, or you want to go to almost a point scoring system, somewhat a la amateur wrestling.